Hi everyone, it's Gemma. Welcome back to Pampered Wolf and welcome to Foundation Fun Day, where today we are trying out an affordable foundation that has just landed in the UK. It's been available in the US for quite some time. This is from Physicians Formula and it's their Butter Believe It foundation and concealer. So I'm going to be trying this out on my skin and I'm going to be doing a full wear test on this for everyone today. If you are new here, hi, my name's Gemma. I upload 2 to 3 videos here on YouTube every single week. I'm also on Instagram if you fancy checking me out over there as well. I would really appreciate it if you would come and join the Pampered Wolf Pack. They are the best subscribers in the entire world. Click on that subscribe button, also the notification bell, so you don't miss any future uploads. So this is the Physicians Formula Butter Believe It foundation and concealer. It's £13.99 in the UK and you get the standard 30ml. Comes in 12 different shades. I've bought 2 of those shades, Fair to Light and also Light. This is a foundation and concealer in one that gives medium to full coverage with a natural finish. This contains rich emollient butters to nourish and hydrate the skin, but for those sensitive skins it is alcohol free, but it does contain a fragrance. Let's get some of this on. So let's see which shade I'm going to be using today. I have Fair to Light and I also have the shade Light. I'm going to try them both out on my skin. Firstly, let's try the Fair to Light. That seems like a perfect match for my skin. Let's try the Light. I think I could probably get away with both of these and make them work. The Light seems to be slightly yellowier than the Fair to Light, and obviously the tiniest bit deeper in shade. So I think I'm going to go for the Fair to Light today because that seems like a perfect match. So this is a creamy liquid that's quite loose in texture, so it's definitely not a super thick formula. Feels really nice on the skin, spreads out really nicely on the skin. This is not difficult to blend out. You're not dragging the skin in any way. It really blends beautifully. It feels very lightweight on the skin. This is drying down really quite quickly, so I've got a feeling it's going to be one of those foundations that you're going to be able to touch your skin throughout the day and no foundation is going to lift, but I will update you on that a little bit later. I really like how this is looking on my skin. I am going to take it underneath my eyes because this says that it's a concealer as well as a foundation. So although that is something that I would very, very rarely do, in fact, I never do it, I'm going to do it on this occasion and see how it sits. It seems to be covering my dark circles nicely. I am going to need a little bit of concealer over the top to hide them completely. Let's move on to the sponge side. So it's applying really, really nicely on the sponge side. Slightly less coverage, but only slightly. I'm being really, really picky. It's just sheared it out the tiniest amount and the finish on the surface of the skin is slightly smoother. So I think this is going to be my application of choice for this foundation. I am definitely getting a medium coverage with this, even with a sponge. It's really good coverage and it's a lovely natural finish on the surface of the skin. It seems to be slightly airbrushing my pores, my texture. It's that natural matte finish that is super flattering. I find that as I age, if I go too dewy, it emphasizes my texture. If I go too matte, it emphasizes my texture. So I believe this will be the happy medium. Something in between, very natural, slightly glowy, but more matte. So I liked this foundation so much on first application. It really inspired me today to break from my norm of no eyeshadow whatsoever. I love this foundation so far. Absolutely love it. Let me show you this in natural lighting. So as you can see, this has not settled in any fine lines, any pores. This hasn't gathered in my smile lines either. It doesn't look cakey around my nose. This hasn't even started to crease underneath my eyes, which I am super impressed with because every single foundation that I've ever applied underneath my eyes has creased. Now I have applied the same concealer as I usually would over the top of this and set that in place in the usual way. I love how this is looking. The finish of this is really nice. All the rest of my products blended beautifully on top of this. It's also touch dry. I am going to do a wear test on this, so I will check in with you a little bit later. Welcome back to the check-in. It's almost been 10 hours since I first applied this foundation to my face, and I can't tell the difference between what it looked like when I first applied to what it looks like now. I am seriously, seriously impressed with this foundation. Let me show you it up close and personal so you can see it in natural lighting. So the only thing I don't really like about my makeup today is that my under eyes look a little heavier than they would usually because I've got the foundation underneath my eyes. I wouldn't do that in future. It hasn't creased, so I'm impressed, but it just looks slightly heavier than I personally like. This hasn't sat in any dryness. It hasn't made my skin look dry throughout the day either, which is a result because if you're a regular to my channel, you will know that my skin has rather dry patches in certain areas. This hasn't moved, it's transfer resistant. I've been able to touch my skin. This is something that it didn't say in the description of the product. It didn't say that this was a transfer resistant formula, and yet I've been touching my face all day and had no transfer whatsoever. And I don't get that feeling of stickiness on the face either. So yeah, I really, really like this foundation. It's more coverage than I would usually go for, but I have felt flawless all day. And to be quite honest, even though it's glowier now than it was before because my natural oils have come through, I still feel like my skin looks flawless. Just a little bit of added information for everybody. I did not set this foundation in place with a setting powder. I set underneath my eyes and I did dot a little bit around my T-zone, but nothing else. And yeah, no cakiness, nothing. So I could try powdering this in place to see if I got even more longevity, but for the cost of this foundation, in fact, let's just take the cost of this foundation out of the equation for a second. Even if this was a seriously high-end foundation, I would still be impressed. That should say it all. So, what sort of skin type would suit this foundation? I've got a feeling that an oily skin type would be able to get away with this. I don't have an oily skin type, so if you do, you've tried this and you get on with it, or you don't, I would really appreciate your input in the comment section. Just pass on your experience with everybody. I have dry skin, and this is seriously passed for me. A big thumbs up. I also have dry patches. Again, big thumbs up from me. Unless you have seriously dry, flaky skin, I have a feeling that this is probably going to look beautiful on your skin. Another thing that I've really enjoyed about this foundation is that it has stayed true to colour. So this hasn't oxidized at all. I did not take this foundation down my neck. So if it had oxidized, I would have had a floating head by now. Not a hint of orange in this foundation. I've thoroughly enjoyed wearing it. I really have. So even though this foundation is slightly more coverage than I'm used to, it's felt really lightweight. Again, the only bit that I felt has looked heavier than I like is underneath my eyes, and I won't make that same mistake again. It feels like it's not there, and even though it's touch dry, it doesn't feel drying. I've actually felt that because of all those nourishing butters in this formula, feels quite hydrating. My skin doesn't look dry, doesn't feel tight in any way. Super impressed. Super, super impressed. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Also, spread your knowledge. If you've tried this already, do let everybody know what you've thought about it on your skin type. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.